So I looked at this video, and just in case I don't let her do her entire talk before I kind of get into a long conversation, I'm going to make sure that I place the actual full video in the video as well. But I definitely want to speak on a couple of the things and answer some of the questions that are in the comments, because this topic seems to be coming up more and more. And there's quite a big significance to it and importance of it as well with timing.
Let me hear your perspective on this clip.
Monogamy programs women to be side bitches. Hey riders, what's up? It's your girl AB, and as you guys know, I'm the second sister wife in my polyfly family. Yes, riders, the second sister wife. And if you don't know what polyfly is, it's when one man has multiple wives. I have been seeing more women open to the idea of being a sister wife, which I think is great. But some of you bitches are bringing that toxic square mentality into polyfly. You guys are trying to bring your baggage and your trauma into polyfly, and that's not what being a sister wife is. Some women on here say things like, oh, I'd rather be the second or the third sister wife. I don't want to be the first sister wife. There's way too much headache, way too much responsibility. I don't want that stress. Of course, there's nothing wrong with being the second or the third sister wife. Like I told you guys before, I came into my polyfly family as the fourth sister wife, and now I'm the second. It's great for women to feel confident and comfortable in their position, because at the end of the day, we're all wives. The thing is, when you say things like, being the first sister wife is just way too much responsibility, way too much headache, you sound like a side bitch. If you're not trying to come into a situation to help uplift and help build, if your mentality isn't, how can I help the first sister wife? How can I alleviate some of that stress? How can I take on some of those responsibilities? If that's not how you think, then you're thinking like a side bitch.
So I wanted to stop her there real quick, because there were some things that I really wanted to point out. What she's saying is also from the perspective of a young woman that just became part of a family that was already together. So the big issue with a lot of the things that she's not far off, but there's some things that also differ depending on what you are actually after when it comes to this setup of marriage. For the people who, because a lot of the people nowadays, they kind of enjoy this lifestyle where they understand that a man gives leadership, passes down the name, and then kind of knits the family together in a common goal and things like that. But a lot of them are usually more like, she's probably bisexual. I'm not going to just say she is, but a lot of the people that I notice now that are open to this are mostly bisexual. And a lot of the times their sister wives are a little bit more than just sister wives, or sisters. And so I'm going to break down a couple of things. Like, for instance, she was like saying that some of the women would be like, oh, I feel like this is this big responsibility. Well, the issue is, like, a lot of women are making it more difficult than it has to be, because in this style of relationship, which is more based upon a traditional standpoint, the man is the head. So there doesn't need to be a bunch of the sister wives communicating between each other and being like, oh, who has this rank and who has this rank? Because chances are, if you just actually sit back and listen to your husband, he would tell you where he sees you fit. And I'm not saying that he knows everything about you, but there's a reason why he selected you to be a part of the team. That's one thing for certain. Number and order of wives has nothing to do with anything. I feel like that's when you start getting into that, that's when you start bringing a lot of the monogamy issues, where it's selfishness, it's about yourself, it's about putting yourself on a pedestal. That's where a lot of that energy starts carrying over, because it shouldn't matter the number of the person. Because there's, like, for instance, I'm not sure if she said it yet, but she's gonna say, or if she hasn't said it already, something about not wanting that big of responsibilities and things. The thing is, it's like some women are part of the family for a different reason. So the thing is, if you go to your head and get the leadership from there, it's not hard. There shouldn't be no competition. And when you just think about yourself just being a part of the team, like for instance, the X-Men, obviously they have a leader, but they're not sitting there saying, okay, well, after the leader, who's next? This and that, this and that. Yeah, experience does help, but this is very linear thinking. What if one of the women, she's such a asset to the family, where she's older than the other women, but she's the last one on the team, and she doesn't want many responsibilities. She wants to be more of a concubine type situation, which is another thing on why I said, like, when you start really overthinking it and trying to put names and concepts on things, this is when pride and ego and stuff like that starts to get in the way. So honestly speaking, whenever you get into this style of family, I don't feel like you should be sitting there sizing each other up and trying to do this ranking structure. I feel like, yes, the person that has known the husband the longest, they're gonna know a little bit different things than the others. But sometimes that first woman, she did things, and maybe after going through different trials and tribulations, they've ended up in this style of relationship. And so he's not as open as he is with another woman or one of the other sisters that perhaps haven't done something to him or came into the picture after the fact of all of this stuff. So it gets really complex, because it's almost like different people bring out different things about you. For instance, if you are with somebody and they are really into fixing cars, right? Their husband is really into fixing cars. You might be the wife that doesn't know anything about that, but he might find a wife that knows the under the hood just as good as he does, right? And so there's going to be some moments that are going to be unique to them, that is only going to be unique to them. But that doesn't take away anything from anybody, because just like you have a unique relationship with your grandpa, your grandma, your aunts, your all of these people, it's the same thing. And it's like when you start bringing all this ranking structure and complicating things, when it's like, hey, you should just be saying, hey, we're a family, we're coming in, we're making this work. If somebody has more experience on an area, they take that area. If another person has more experience, it's the best. When you're thinking it's the best person for the job, you elevate not only the family, but you fit better into the picture. Because a lot of people, they complicate this stuff, like I said, but they don't think about, well, why don't we just go back to the head? So why did he put them, this person on the team? And like I said, you don't have to ask him these intimate details, because it might be something based upon physicality. Like, hey, this woman is really my piece. She's the one that's always ready and on go whenever I need, some type of relief and pleasure. And she might carry other roles and things like that are valuable to her, but it's not really a necessity where it's like, okay, maybe she got the best head game, just being real. So that's why I said, like, when you start doing all this complicating things and not just going back to the man, which is I think she called it polylife. She was saying it so fast, I still really didn't understand her, but it's called polygyny, and in the biblical standpoint. And the sister wives don't deal with each other, they just deal with the husband, and they treat each other like sisters. And this type of bonding makes it so that there's no other type of emotions and things like that that cloud anything, because each woman won't have anything past working towards the goal with their sisters, rather than, other love interest and, all of this other stuff, because it's very different if you all are dealing with each other and then that person leaves the family, versus your husband dealing with each wife and something happens that doesn't work out and then they separate, but you all could still have a situation where everything is cordial a lot easier. I'm not saying that you can't, after you've dealt with people, but just generally speaking, that's why the original way of doing things was because it was the best. And not only was it because it was the template, but it was because it was the best and easiest way for a bigger family to be created and do what they need to in order to flourish in a healthy, functional way.
And this is why I say monogamy programs women to be side bitches, because it programs women through fear to compete with each other. Whether you're a wife or the girlfriend, or if you're a side bitch, you're trying to compete with each other. And
so the thing is, it's a little bit less about, because like she said, it trains them. I don't get the side piece type situation, because the thing is, the side piece is usually understanding that there's a wife involved, but I guess she's saying that it creates a natural competition where you think, oh, I'm something different, rather than I'm part of the team. But monogamy trains women to be selfish, and it trains women to be about themselves, because in a monogamous relationship, that's how it is. It's each person is 100% this and that, and it stagnates other things. And as I said before, like, if you're actually getting into this style of relationship, are you doing it for physical means, or are you doing it because it's a family, is a business, and all this other stuff? So when you start getting into that concept, when you want the best and most advantageous situation for your children and your legacy, polygyny is a better route than monogamy by far, because of all of the pros and cons of it.
Fear of not being good enough, of not having the best pussy, of the man not picking you. You're insecure and you're vibrating low, and polyfly is not about that.
And she's right, but that's the thing. So it's like preaching to the choir almost, right? There are some people that will never accept it because they're never going to be further than just for themselves, right? And so you don't really need to argue this to anybody, because it's either you are open to it and understanding of it, or you're not. And yes, some people can be converted over and things of that nature, because people are going to naturally do it once it becomes a survival thing. Right now, some people understand this, but overall, people are going to find this out later. But it's this style of family was for survival and everything else like that. But it's some way that you could do a lot more than you ever could with just two minds on the one team.
It's about uplifting each other. It's about helping each other build something great. It's about loving each other. We don't look at each other as competition. We're all trying to come together. We all care about our man.
And see, that's the thing, because when it boils down to it, it's real crazy when people say that, let's say that there's not a 100%, oh, I'm not going to, because people always like to make excuses for this. Whenever there's the, oh, I'm open to it, but this and that, it always boils down to, it's crazy how much a man will do for your happiness, but you won't do it for his happiness. And I'm not just talking about in a physical pleasure type way. There's so many things that could happen if there were women on the team versus just you as a woman trying to shoulder everything, which you're not really capable of, just being real. And the thing is, it's like, if you really want more for your man, why would you convert this entire thing to a physical thing? Like your man is just that dumb, like he's just that reckless, like he's just that lustful, when it's a style of relationship that could really help everybody. And you could actually genuinely have friends and family that's a part of your team, that understands you, that's around your same age, or somebody that you can learn something from, somebody that could bring business and income to the family. But now it boils all down to, oh, well, he's having sex with another woman, so then you're selfish. So it's crazy, because we see that a lot of women will never put their husband's happiness over theirs, because if he's forcing himself to be monogamous, it's not about being loyal. It's about you making somebody do something because you aren't okay with something else that you just don't agree to. Because a lot of the people, if they want to say that they're selfish, I would accept that more than you saying, oh, well, this and that, because those are all excuses, because there's more money in the family, there's somebody else that could help watch the kids, so two people could be on grind mode all the time. It's a way that you can have more intimacy, because a lot of marriages lose intimacy, and that's what really messes it up. And that's why monogamy a lot of times is terrible, because it always has somebody not having enough, and it's usually the man. Because the thing is, what a lot of women don't understand is keeping your man vital and full of youth and energy is going to get a lot more out of him than you saying, oh, well, I got him on a leash, I'm going to stagnate this, I'm going to stagnate that, just because I can control things. And it's so selfish and wicked, in my opinion, because it's like, it's not what could really benefit your children. And this is, like I said, this is for the people that want to try to use all these excuses versus just admitting that they're selfish and they will do whatever they want versus what their man wants, or submitting to their man, or submitting to the understanding and all this other stuff.
A lot of y'all bitches, when you say shit like that, you really sound like a side bitch. Like, oh, I don't want all the responsibility. Like, what? How are you trying to come into a situation without being ready to help? Y'all just need to leave that side bitch shit over there. BBW.
So, yeah, when it comes down to that, like, the main thing is, like, when you get into this style of relationship, there's a lot of people that don't understand what it's for. Even in a biblical sense, it's for the man to be able to pass on a legacy. It's so that a man is able to have a bigger family. It's so that a man can have more sons that will be able to help him. And within just a few years of people turning 10, 11, 12, you have literally your own in-house team that's already helping you do simple tasks, from maintaining the household, etc., all the way to these children getting older and literally being able to master their own craft in their own light. And now the next generation after that will have so many uncles that are close knit, and that would be so willing to train the next generation to get better. And so it multiplies the skills, the techniques, the mindset, the goals, the aspirations, the opportunities. You'll never feel alone. You always have a family. You always have siblings. You'll have sisters. You'll have people that went through experiences. You'll have everything, and you all share a common goal, understanding, and home training, honestly. And so this is what people don't understand. This is what it's about. And when you are you're not just there for a physical way, and you're even in a way for it to be spiritual, because the Bible says to go back to the old ways. There's quite a few scriptures talks about this. Isaiah 4:1, 7 women to 1 man. All of these things also will help if you are really here to find your purpose, find the Most High and stuff like that, when you aren't out here having to work hard 24/7, you and your husband, because you don't have enough hands on deck, you don't have enough opportunity, and you want to block doors and opportunities because, you know, a woman might be in between it. When you do all of those things, it stagnates the growth that you could have, and that stops you from being able to focus all the way on spirituality and your family. Because when you are having to do so many hours and days and weeks and months at a job, all these hours, these are hours you could have been doing with your family business and your family. And this is with everything taken care of, because now you're in a situation where, you know, you have more than enough. You have an abundance. And if anybody ever went, you know, had to clock out, take a break, whatever like that, vacation, you always have someone moving. And so as you see a lot of people, if it's crazy how so many people are accepting of every other relationship type. This is the only one that gets everybody upset. You know, they can have two, you know, homosexuals together, they can have a bunch of homosexuals together, whatever, and it doesn't produce like a, you know, a family, a legacy, all this other stuff. But you'll see all these people talking about this, but everybody else is talking about this. And then people that are saying it's blasphemy, they don't read the Bible enough, because why would the scripture say go back to the law, do the law, and now you're saying that part of the law is blasphemy? It literally says in the Bible that if there's only one role, which is a bishop. I think it's only one role, but a bishop is the only one that's supposed to have one wife. It literally says one wife. Every other person had more than one wife because they were working on the legacy. They were working on tilling the land. They were working on all of these things. They're working on their tribe and their community, because sex and marriage is not for you to fall in love and just live happily ever after. That's not the function of it. Sex is to create life. It just feels good. Marriage, it's a business. It just has relationships and feelings involved. That's what keeps the family together. But everybody makes that an idol, and so that's why they do this monogamy thing, and they make it an idol over themselves, because they're the idol. Oh, you can't do anything that makes me feel less. You can't have anything before me. Yeah, you guys are talking like the Most High. And like I said, why would there be a whole, Isaiah 4:1? Oh, that's a future prophecy, but that means that right now it's a blasphemy. That doesn't make any sense. You wouldn't go to something wicked just because the time changed. It didn't say that you started eating pork. It didn't say you started doing adultery. It didn't say you could start doing same on same. It didn't say none of that stuff. So when you start trying to add to the scripture, that proves that you don't know what you're talking about, because everybody that says it's blasphemy, it's like, okay, so every one of our everybody before that had multiple wives, the ones that weren't in the garden, the ones that weren't in a perfect environment, the ones that weren't in a perfect body, which they're more similar to us than Adam was to us, because Adam didn't have a corrupted body. So he could have did whatever he was doing forever if he never did anything. And that's why when our bodies became corruptible, that's when we were given the commandment to be fruitful and multiply anyways. But it makes sense when you start to go to trying to repopulate the earth. Not only that, but as I said before, because you have emotions that tie to you wanting to be selfish and just have each other for yourselves, besides that, right? So if everything else checks out, then the only issue we have are your emotions, because there's a reason for it. There's biblical evidence for it working. Not to mention, you guys allow everybody else to do this exact same thing, but long as it's not in a actual legit way. You guys will accept baby mama, baby daddy culture. You guys accept celebrities doing it. You guys will literally always say everybody else is okay just because you only want people who honestly are the wicked to qualify for these ways of life, when the whole thing is to be able for this man to be able to live his life, smile, be able to live it fruitfully, be able to enjoy his life. And there's some people in here that say all types of things like, oh, well, you could just be loyal to one person. Like, if that's what you want to do, just say that's what you want to do. But there's nothing wrong with the concept. And that's why I said it's funny, because you guys won't speak against everything else. This is the only thing that you guys will speak against, and it's actually biblical. And this is why it proves all of this stuff. Like, all of these people keep talking about all of this stuff, and they keep looking at the people doing it, but that's not the template for it. If you read the Bible, that is the template for it. So all of you guys bringing in all of your own emotions and feelings, talking about all these things won't work, and that's because you guys choose terrible. That's because you guys choose just with your eyes. That's because you guys aren't smart enough to find quality people to build the team with. When you actually have genuine understanding, and you're not like, oh, well, she got to be a baddie, she got to do this. When you start choosing and searching for women that actually have quality, it actually does work, because people that are quality people, they don't want to mess up their lives. People that are quality people, they are selfless. People that are quality people want to make sure the next generation are better off and have more of an advantage than they did. So that's the difference between your normal basic person, because yes, this is not for everybody, but for all of you people that don't want to do it, you should just go sit down and not say anything like you say for everything else. But there's a method to it, and you pointing out all the people doing it wrong, or all the people that aren't doing it for pure reasons, or all of this and all that, has nothing. It doesn't take away from the concept, because with you guys the same logic, monogamy has been declining every single year, more and more and more. So if we wanted to go by statistics, you guys are still wrong, because statistically you guys will still talk about how there's a whole site for cheating, Ashley Madison and stuff like that, meaning men wanting multiple wives, more than one person. There's women doing it too, so that still goes towards the poly thing. There's women that will have this baby daddy, that baby daddy, that baby daddy, so that still is the acceptance of polygyny. So literally you guys will do it all based upon it just not being done correctly, and basing it all on things done incorrectly. Because if you wasn't a virgin and that was the only man you was ever with, and that you was never with another man again or whatever, you have nothing to say about polygyny, because you're poly anyways. You've dealt with people multiple times intimately. And honestly speaking, if you couldn't do it right the first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time, when it comes to selection, a lot of people aren't qualified to say what they think is wrong and right, when all of the people I'm reading about seem to do what we're talking about, but correctly. So that's the difference. And when you actually think about things like that, and you make sure that you're conducting yourself not out of lust, not out of need, out of faith, spirituality. Also, you're picking people that are on board, understand, submissive, because when it comes, there is no competition if you submit to your husband, because there shouldn't be all that energy. But if there's a final say so, if you've really trusted this man enough for him to have multiple heads under him, and all of this stuff, then you should respect him enough for him to be able to handle our situations. And I'm not saying everybody else can't, but I'm saying for it to be the be all say all, if there needs to be, if there's a disagreement and a lack of understanding, because that's why there's the head. because you don't have the emotional person ruling, because you might have a feeling at one moment, but then once it's said and done, you'd be like, yeah, that was stupid, that was unnecessary, but that's the reason why this setup is how it is. But I feel like monogamy just incites people to be selfish before themselves, idolize themselves, alienate their husbands from being able to operate daily without some type of jealousy, some type of trap this, trap that, not allowing him to decide if he wants to be monogamous or poly, because let's be real, y'all that say all this, is you putting your foot down. It's not your husband making the choice because you really don't submit to him. Because if you really submitted to him, you would say, hey, whatever way you want to say, then we'll go that way. But that's why most of these women are fake submissive, and this is a situation for submissive women, because without the submission, this style is not for them. And most of these women do not have a submissive bone in their body. And so when it comes down to it, that's why they'll never be able to do this, even for the good of everybody. It could be directly financially beneficial. It could be directly beneficial in a multitude of ways, and they still wouldn't do it. They still wouldn't do it to make their husband happy. They wouldn't do it for their kids to have a better life. And so a lot of people don't have to worry about this, because this is an advanced way of thinking. You have to be, you can't be for yourself. You have to want the best for your kids. You have to want the best for your family. And overall, you have to be selfless, because things take sacrifice. So when it comes to being uncomfortable, yeah, it's going to bring some uncomfortable situations. It's complex. But when you start working with something that's more and abundant, that's what's going to happen. And as I said before, if everybody is on the same page of making things work, making things operate, being submissive, being under the Most High, there is no problems. There is no problems. You guys deal with petty stuff now. You guys deal with cheating now. You guys deal with arguments now. You guys deal with being broke now. You guys deal with competing with other women now. You still deal with sharing your husband now. You still deal with fake friends now. So what are you talking about? These arguments are null and void, because you just be like, you guys act like monogamy has done so well, and y'all all argue towards something that's a failure, because a lot of y'all are still looking for someone to be monogamous with. A lot of y'all got out of monogamous relationships because somebody couldn't be monogamous. A lot of y'all decided that you didn't want to be in a monogamous relationship because you didn't want to be monogamous. You see what I'm saying? So this is my thing. Like I know most people don't use logic, but let's lay the facts out. There is no, when you say, hey, the Bible says this, the Bible says that, there is no extra, because at that point, you just making stuff up. There's never in the Bible does he switch rules. So that's my take on that. A lot of these people, as I said before, they say it's not for them. A lot of these men can't keep up. A lot of these men aren't healthy. A lot of these men don't want kids. So when you live your life to make money, flex, wear some clothes and stuff like that, jewelry, you don't care. There's the ones that want this, they have something bigger in mind. And they want people that have the same mindset. They want abundance. They want to be able to till land. They want to be able to have businesses overseas. They want to be able to have all of these things and be able to operate it all in a family and be under one belief, one system, and under one head, and positively working towards a common goal. And a lot of people won't grasp this because they're selfish, and they're not the people that this is set up for. This is for people who have pure intentions and use it accordingly, because when you do it that way, you operate with all intent to be with pure intention, because a lot of y'all operate on selfishness. That's where the competition comes in. That's where a lot of the jealousy and all this other stuff. But once you start actually believing in the fruit of the spirit and carrying yourself like a actual positive person and giving life to everything you touch, you'll grasp this concept.